Are live. Oh, hello. Welcome. Hi, ladies. My name is Taylor Thompson. We're coming live here in the She Network with this Tuesdays with Taylor, and I have a beautiful special guest here I cannot wait to introduce you to. And as you're coming on, let us know you're here, maybe where you're coming in from. We would love to say hi and let StreamYard. Otherwise, we see Facebook users, so you have to let StreamYard give them permission to use your name. There's a little link up above. So otherwise we see Facebook users. So hey ladies, I'm not sure who's saying hey, but all I know is Facebook users. So welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. So happy to be here. So, wow. So I have my beautiful friend, Miss Brynn Lang. How are you, Brynn?
I am fantastic. Super excited to be here.
From Brandon, Mississippi, another Southern girl here. Y'all tuning in. Give it up for the South. Whoop, whoop.
Oh my gosh, you did it. That's my thing. I'm a whoop whooper. So y'all just drop some whoop whoops up in the comment box because we're going to get all excited when y'all start whoop whooping. I swear, I can whoop whoop all day. Brynn walks in the room and people are like, oh gosh, there she goes. She's going to start whoop whooping again.
I just want to have, let's have a good time. Michelle, how are you? Thank you for being here, Michelle. Angie, welcome. Hey, Nancy, glad you're here. Yes, okay, so Nancy's already been on with me for the last 2 hours, and she can just be on here for another hour, so I'm glad you're here. So I am so excited to have you here. This legend, and got to know her from Brandon, Mississippi, and we are happy to have you transplant from California over here to Mississippi. So Brynn, how are you today? Thank you so much for being here.
I am super excited to be here. I can't wait to connect with all of you rock stars and badasses here in the She Network. And honestly, I'm just super honored. I have to share that one thing that I have based my team, my culture, a lot of my coaching on has a lot to do with the Thompson rule. And so I am super excited that you're interviewing me because this is something that I literally talk about all the time. And one of the main reasons why I have been super successful in network marketing. So I'm excited to be here.
Wow. Well, that makes my heart smile and makes me want to go whoop whoop.
She's whoop whoop, and we're gonna be best friends.
I love it. Oh my gosh, you just gave me chills. That's so cool. I love that. So, okay, well, this is all about you. I thank you, Tina, for being here. Thank you. So, you guys say hey and give it up for the Thompson rule, 80, 15, and 5. I love that. Okay, well, tell us about you. So tell us your story. How did you get how did you get here? How did you get to this place? How did you get from California to Mississippi? How does that happen? Most people go the other direction. How did you get over here?
It's actually funny because I actually have met several people that went the opposite when I was coming this way. Well, that is a loaded question. I grew up in California for the first 18 years of my life. I was raised in a family of divorce. When I was 4 years old, my dad left, and I do luckily have a relationship with my dad now, but when I was 4 years old, my dad left, and within the first couple of weeks of my dad leaving, I actually had a new man in my household.
Wow.
And for the next, 14 years of my life, I lived in a horrible cycle of mental, emotional, and sexual abuse with my stepfather. Which actually drove me to work really, really, really hard to get as far away from California as I possibly could. And so,
let's talk about. Okay, so that's a lot. Okay, first of all, that's a lot for a 4-year-old, right? So the stability man leaves, and another one comes in the picture. So. Did your mom know? This is a lot to take in right here. So did your mom realize what was happening? Did she know that he was doing things to you? Was she aware of any of those things? How did that come to light? And I mean, if you don't mind sharing.
Oh, yeah, no, it's actually a huge part of my story. And I'm actually, people ask me all the time, would you change what happened to you? And although it was not an enjoyable situation, obviously, the things that I went through literally created the person that I am today. My mother knew that he was abusive because he was a narcissist, and he was very abusive to her as well. So where he was more physically, emotionally, mentally abusive with my brothers, he was very, very mentally abusive to my mother, pretty much making her feel like he was all she could ever have, that, she couldn't live without him. Here she is with 3 kids, and he's taking care of her 3 kids, And so, do I believe that my mother knew exactly what was happening? No, but I also do believe that she knew something was happening because it was evident.
So ladies, like some of you are listening in, let's think about that, like 20, 30, I mean, the word narcissist was probably not even a thing. That probably wasn't even talked about, or even knew that was, as women back then, they didn't talk about those things. They didn't talk about what was happening behind closed doors. That was part of the isolation that typical narcissists use. How many ladies out there have you experienced, somebody abusing you mentally, right? Emotionally? I mean, there's a lot of that happening on here, and I hear this story repeatedly. So whenever you say it was evident, she knew what was happening. So did you communicate that to her? Did she? I mean, I'm thinking, as I'm trying to connect with this as a mom, with my child in this situation, what was happening and how that unfolded.
Yeah, so it's kind of obviously a long story. I mean, I think that my mother was so caught up in everything that was happening with her and with their relationship, and is he going to leave me? And it's this constant, battle. And, I think that at times we really just got lost in that. And so for me, I realized that I was the only person that could get me out of that situation. That it wasn't going to be my mother saving me out of the situation. After years and years of it happening, you come to realize that at that point in her life, she was not strong enough to leave. And so honestly, I never told anybody. Like, my friends didn't know, my, a school counselor, right? Like, I never talked to anybody about any of it. I had this one driven focus that I was going to do whatever I had to do in order to get out of that situation. And so for me, that was sports at that time in my life. I threw myself into volleyball. I practiced endlessly. I did everything I could do to hone my skills. I was the most passionate. I was the hardest worker, because I knew that although physically I probably wasn't going to be the best volleyball player out there, I knew I could have more heart and more drive than anybody else out there. And so I threw myself into that. With doing that, I was able to get a full ride volleyball scholarship to the University of Southern Mississippi, which was all the way across the country, which was my goal. Right. And so even at that point, I still had never told anybody about what happened to me. But it's funny how things start to circle around. Yeah. And we start to go through things in our life when we don't actually deal with the things that are happening to us, how they end up popping back up in our lives later on.
Well, and I find it interesting, whenever because you obviously that made you grow up really, really fast, and really probably very independent, and probably played a role as to how you identify or connected with men too, and guys, having that, probably that tough outer shell, that, what the RBF face, right? That that face. Yeah. Right? I mean, like, don't get too close, right? So, I mean, a scholarship, that's powerful. A full ride scholarship, getting away from that. So how did you, so now you're in college, you have this successful scholarship, but how did these things start surfacing for you? How does the cracks in the crevice, right?
Yeah. Well, I will say, of course, going off to college moved me away and out of the situation. But what I realized was, while I was in that situation, I had to be tough. I had to be strong. I had to make it happen. I had to push feelings down. And what I found happened later in life, and what happened in college, in fact, my junior year of playing, I got hurt to the point where I couldn't play anymore. And this is what I attached my identity to for so long. It was the thing that I constantly fed in order to get me out of the situation that I was in. And so the cracks started happening. And so I started looking for validation in lots of other places, right? Like many of us do: drugs, alcohol, partying, men. Even though I couldn't be emotionally intimate with a man, that didn't mean I couldn't be physically intimate with a man. And so my life just started to fall apart. And so, because I hadn't actually dealt with any of the things that had happened to me. And so, over the course of several years of just really being in a really dark place, I started to pull myself out of it. Once again, I started to attach myself to something that I knew that could help me, which for me has always been drive. I'm driven. All of the things that happened to me helped me become such a driven person, because I truly know that it doesn't matter what circumstance you're in, you have the capability of getting yourself out of it.
Love that.
And so many people sit in their circumstances. I'm not saying that we don't have our crap. I'm not saying that bad things aren't going to happen to us, that aren't going to happen to anybody. We're all going to go through things, right? But for me, attaching myself to having a drive for something is what always took me out of that. And so I attached myself again to the drive of a career. And so I went into a sales career, and through that sales career, I met my husband, and then we get married and I become pregnant. At this point in my life, I've still never told anybody what happened to me as a kid.
Okay, so Brynn, how do you keep from not exploding?
It happened.
Okay. Okay, I'm ahead of the story. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pregnant. My mom finally leaves my stepdad. She's finally gets balls enough and strength enough to realize, now that her kids are grown and she's not worried about him having to take care of all of them, that she can get herself out of that situation. And I went home, and I am literally pregnant with my only child, where she's driving me back to the airport on my way home back to Mississippi. And she literally turns to me and asks me, "Did your stepdad ever touch you?" And my whole life fell apart. Like when I say in that moment, I could not attach myself to anything any longer. What I had stuffed so far down, exploded out of me. Wow. And I hadn't even told my husband at this point. We're married. Wow. And my husband doesn't even know. And I know that there are a lot of women out there who, because I just had a conversation with one of my coaching clients, actually, who just shared with me a couple weeks ago that she hadn't even told her husband about the period of her life where she was molested by her father and her uncle. And so it came out. And at that point, it was like, I had to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with it, but I had to deal with it.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, to this point, most of the time people don't want to address it because it's too painful. It's just something that you feel like if you just stuff, keep stuffing, but you can't bury a live emotion. You just can't. And because it will at some point, if it doesn't come out like this, it comes out in some sort of disease, like it manifests.
Mm-hmm.
That's because of
physically, it can manifest in so many different ways. I've actually watched trauma that my husband's been through. His manifests physically in his body with palpitations, he went through a period where his immune system was really down. And it's like, the more you suppress things, they will find a way to come out.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. So in that moment, whenever your mom asks you this, because there's gotta be this place to where you wanted to be her little girl again. I would suspect. And I mean, or like, did you ever go like, finally, or was there some part of you that was like going, thank you for acknowledging, or was there ever any of that bridged the gap between you and your mom? Did it bring you closer together? What happened to that relationship before you come home to deal with it with your spouse? What took place?
Yeah, when it finally all came out and all my feelings came out, I just became a very angry person for a really long time. I was literally consumed with anger, because as long as I had stuffed it down, I didn't have to deal with it. In fact, most of the time I didn't even think about it. I mean, it was presenting itself in my life. Hello, my poor husband. I couldn't be intimate with him. I mean, I was physically intimate with him. I was not emotionally intimate with him.
Yeah.
And so it opened up many, many, many years of actually learning how to really deal with my struggles and to overcome them. And so I really went through a lot of anger with my mother, and it wasn't until actually probably about 5 years ago that I found forgiveness for everything that happened to me. And so, after that happened, I came home, and then of course I told my husband, and then, I had to deal with the consequences of all of these things. And so, how
did he embrace this information?
He was angry too, not at me. He was very hurt for me. He was very angry for me, obviously.
Yeah.
But over time, and I will say that process needed to happen. I needed to be able to face what had happened to me. I needed to be able to look backwards, and I needed to be able to say, okay, I see why this happened. I see why my stepdad is the way that he is. I see the good things that came out of it, not just the bad things. I can find forgiveness for what happened to me because I can see the good things, and because I can see why he was who he was, but I had to go on that journey. And for those of you watching, you may be in a situation where you are stuck in the circumstances, and you're stuck in the pain. And, for me, it all came to a head at 7 years into my marriage, when my husband literally fell on his knees crying and was going to give up on our marriage. He was about ready to divorce me because I could not be emotionally present with him. And he looked up at me and he said, "How long are you going to let your past affect your future?"
Wow. Because
I was a broken human, and he lived with that for years and years, and he loved me despite it. But at a certain point, it was, you need to make a choice. Do you stay stuck in your past? Do you stay stuck in these circumstances that somebody else created for you, that you had no control of? But what you do have control of is your future, and how long you're going to let that past affect you and those circumstances affect you. And for me, it was like, in that moment, it was a split decision. And here's what I want you guys all to hear, because this is the power of anything and everything you do, whether it's growing a business, whether it's healing from your past. It's all just a freaking decision. It's making a decision. And so many people are so damn scared to make a decision because they don't know what it's going to look like on the other side. Their discomfort, their pain, all of that is normal. It feels normal. We almost make ourselves feel good about it. We accept it. We accept these circumstances, but you don't have to. You can make a decision. And so when my husband said that to me, I made a decision right in that moment. I will no longer be angry. I am going to forgive the person that hurt me. I'm going to move forward, and instead of living in my past and living in my circumstances and all of the hurt that somebody else created for me, yeah, I am going to move forward in my life, and I'm going to take these things that happened to me, and I'm going to go out and make an impact.
So this right here, Brynn, is so powerful, because it's a life lesson in every arena of life. No matter, because it doesn't matter whatever your past whatever captive you're held to regarding your past. We all have those things that we can be held captive to. It doesn't have to be even to the degree or level that you're talking about, but we can allow circumstances of past to hold us captive.
Oh, yes.
And into the circle that we stand in. We can't move out of it because out of fear, out of, to your point, what does it look like? What does it feel like? The unknown, because we've made it so much a part of our identity and who we are. Yep. It's comfortable. We've made our victimhood, we can make our victim-ish-hood be comfortable. Yeah. And comfortable being angry with someone, being comfortable with being upset that they caused these set of circumstances in our life, and hold on to it. And here's the thing, rightfully so. You can be rightfully angry because they did do you wrong, and you have every right to be upset and angry. But the reality is that in the long run, who does it ultimately affect? And I love the fact that your husband had the courage to say that to you. But more importantly, that you had the courage to make the decision. That Larry's always taught, the decision is the hardest part. Mm-hmm. It's the hardest part. And what is a decision? A decision is cutting away any other option. It's deciding to go this direction, and there's no other way. There's no other alternative. There's no other option for you. It's going to be this way.
Yep.
And so this is such a beautiful story. How did you forgiveness is a big word. Forgiveness is a big thing. Whenever you made that decision, that's one thing. But how did you walk it out?
Yeah, and here's the thing I want you guys to hear first and foremost before I kind of share with you the process that I used. And now this is a process that I have also used to create massive success, both in my network marketing business, in my coaching business, in everything that I do. And so I want you to understand that forgiveness is not for that person.
Right.
My forgiveness was not for him. I forgave him for me.
Yes.
Because if I couldn't forgive him, I could not move on with my life.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I decided to look backwards. Look backwards. Who was he? Why did he become the way that he was? Essentially, he was in love with me. My stepdad was in love with me. Why was he in love with me? I started to look back at the way his parents treated him, generation after generation in his family, and the way that they treated each other and the way that they fed into each other. And I started to realize he was not trying to hurt me. He was trying to love me in his own way. Was that the right way to love me? No. But at the same time, I can see that it wasn't that he was trying to instill hurt into me. And I could see that on top of the bad things that he fed into my life, I started to make a list of the good things that he poured into my life. He helped me become the driven person that I am today. He helped me have a story that now impacts thousands and thousands and thousands of people every single day. And so I started going through this process and I started writing it down. And I'm like, how do I do this on repeat? How do I do this in every area of my life? And so I started to do what I like to call analyzing backwards. And I do this. I have my journal every single night by my bed. It's the last thing I do every day. I do what I call analyzing backwards. So many people analyze everything moving forward. It's what keeps people from growing, 100%. We question every step that we take, every move that we make. I could sing a song. Every step. Okay, never mind. That totally came out of a poet and I didn't even know it. But they analyze everything they do moving forward. And I realize that this is one of the biggest things that holds people back. And so, I've never been scared to take action, and I want you to not be scared to take action and try things and do things, right? I have developed the process of analyzing backwards through finding forgiveness for my stepdad. I do this every night. I sit down and I look at my day and every decision that I made and every conversation that I had, whether it be with my son, whether it be with my husband, whether it be building my business, whether it be with a coaching client, whatever it is that I'm doing. Maybe it's going out and prospecting people about the business. Maybe it's a live video that I did. I'm constantly analyzing backwards. What worked, what didn't, and how can I improve it? right? If I can look at these things every single day, I can constantly improve what I'm doing every single day moving forward. Just like I did with my stepdad. What was good about what he poured into me? Maybe what were the bad things? How can I take these things and improve my life and the lives of others? How can I take these things and improve my marriage? How can I take these things and become a better parent? How can I take these things and become a better entrepreneur, right? And so every day I have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks full of every single day since I did that process back then of every day, what worked today, what didn't, and how can I improve it? And then I would wake up the next day and I would look back at what didn't work. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do it this way. And it's what has created an amazing marriage between my husband and I with full emotional intimacy, despite what happened to me. It's what's created an amazing relationship with my kid because I do the same process with him. It's how I became a millionaire. It's how I brought my team to $2 million a month in sales. It's how I created, a multi-six-figure coaching business. It's all with the same process that I do over and over and over again. And I can look back at what happened to me and I could say, thank you.
And so ladies, I hope you guys are taking notes. I hope you're listening to what's being said because so much nuggets, so much power in just this right here, because this can be applied. The first nugget that I heard, is what Jim Rohn always taught me. For things to change, you got to change.
Yep.
For things to get better, you have to get better. Everybody wants their husband to get better, their kids to be better, their boss to be better, their company to be better, their downline to be better, their upline to be better. Everybody's looking for everything else to change except what they see in the mirror. And to your point, this becomes what I call the teachability, in business, in life, is to self-evaluate, to be able to self-evaluate and look at the day. Would you have hired yourself or fired yourself, right? Would you, could I have done this better? Could I have said this differently? Could I have eliminated that issue by changing what I did? Could I have eliminated that argument with my husband if I would have just taken a big deep breath? There's so many nuggets in what you just said that could change the trajectory of your life, of your set of circumstances that you're currently in, if you would do the work, if you would lift the weights. And here's the scripture that I just kept thinking over and over and over in my mind. Romans 8:28. For God works for the good who love him and are called according to his purpose. And the other scripture, and I love this one right here, because this may be you, like, you're like, how do I get out of this? How do I move forward? Isaiah 43:18. Forget former things of the past. See that I'm creating in you a new thing. Don't you see it? And so just right there, that could be a whole training, just what you just did right there. If you would just take that and apply that in your life today, the growth, you would not even recognize yourself in 90 days, ladies. This is so.
I love that you said that, because if you think about it, winning, success, it's all just a rhythm. You have to figure out what your rhythm is. This is part of my rhythm. I can do it on repeat because I know that it works all the time and every time when I do it. It's what I teach my clients. It's what I teach my team. But I love that you said that it all boils down to you, because at the end of the day, most people are not willing to look in the mirror. They want to blame everybody around them. This is something that 99% of the people are doing on a daily basis. But I want you guys to hear this, and I want you to take it in and sit on this. There are only two things that you can control: your own personal actions and decisions, and how you choose to react to other people's. That's it. You can have zero expectations of anybody around you. Zero expectations of your boss, zero expectations of your husband, zero expectations of your kids, because all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure. Yep. But at the end of the day, if you're constantly asking yourself, what are my decisions? How am I going to act in this situation? And how do I choose to react to other people and their decisions? I can't control what my husband does on a daily basis. I can't control what my kid does. He's 11. He certainly is independent, right? But I can choose how I react.
Yes.
To that.
This right here, I mean, I've taught this. I mean, I have, between Larry and I, we have 6 girls. So you can imagine, right? You can imagine, right? Imagine.
Why you guys have been so successful, because that's a lot of marriages to take care.
I mean, like the drama with just who took my clothes, who took my shoes, who took my makeup, like, oh my God, it never changes, right? But this is something like we've always tried to, like, it's not about what the other person does. It's about what you do. It's not what they say. It's how you react. It's how you respond. And you have a choice. And you can choose to be offended, right? Or you can choose to have grace and let it go. And so many times, and I love what you said right there, you use the word expectation. Expectation, I truly believe, is what sets most people up for failure.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they put their expectations on someone else, on something else without any credence. And then whenever it doesn't happen in the way that they think it should happen, then they're disappointed.
Yep.
They're let down. They're frustrated.
And that's when people quit.
Because somebody didn't think like you? Wait, you think that people think like you? Hello? That's a huge mistake, is people think like you, right? Because they're the expectations. This is so good. I love this. I love this. So, okay. So, I mean, ladies, this is gold, what we've got so far. So I hope you're picking up what she's laying down here, because it is, I love it. So, okay. So you made that decision in that moment. You walked through this process. So how does this play now into, how did you get into, you're going through the healing process. How did you do that? What tools how did you equip yourself to do that?
So part of the whole moment when my husband, said that to me, one of the things that he'd been trying to get me to do for years and years and years was counseling. And I didn't want to go because I didn't want to deal with, to me, at that point, I would rather just not deal with it. And I see so many people that get stuck in this. They're so comfortable in their pain. They're so comfortable in their lack of full joy in their life, right? Like when I look at my life back then, like I was living not even a half a life, right? Like I had no emotional intimacy with my husband, right? Like, yeah, I would say yes. You got 5 minutes kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like once a week, which is still probably better than some people, but still, I'm living this half life. Like, and so, I realized that so many people get stuck there. So I went to counseling and I started asking myself, like, if I could have the life of my dreams, like if I could have everything I ever wanted, if my life was truly joyful and peaceful, what would it look like? What would that actually look like? And I started thinking, we only have one life on this planet. Like literally, you guys realize that tomorrow could be your last day here. Today could be your last. This could be your last hour on the planet, right? Like we don't like to think about those things because it forces us to really look at our lives and see how are we living them. And I was living a half life, so I started thinking, what would a full life look like? And I started thinking, I would really like to know what it feels like to want to be intimate with my husband, to like get home and want to be like, hey baby, let's just like enjoy each other, right? Like, and to have the peace and the joy of being around him and being emotional and then thinking like everything that I'm doing with my husband and everything that we feed into our relationship, well, our son is going to see too. And then he's going to see that and he's going to model his life. I mean, it just like I said with my stepdad, it's generations, right?
Yes.
So I went to counseling and I started like meditating every single day on what would a full life look like for me. And so I started making small decisions in all of those areas. What would not only bring me joy today, but what would bring my husband joy today? What would bring my son joy today? What would bring people around me joy today? How could I bring more joy into other people's lives and into my family? How could I bring more peace? How could I show up in service? And I started, taking this focus off of just me and putting it out into other people and into the world, and through counseling, and then through finding Christ through a very wonderful friend that helped me walk through that as well. It created the person that's sitting before you today. And so my life today is a direct effect of all of the work that I did in naming what is joy and peace and a full life for me. What is joy and peace and a full life for my husband and for my kid? What does success actually look and feel like for me as a whole person? And I started living in that. I just started living in that every single day.
This is, wow. I mean, gosh, I could just spin off on just so many things that you just said. But here, I mean, I love this piece right here because it's so appropriate. We always talk about, whenever you got one finger pointing out, telling your story or giving or looking to pour into, you got three coming back, and the power is yes, you're giving out, but where the real power is it's giving back to you. You've got one coming out, but you got 3 times as much coming back. Mm-hmm. Most people can't see that. They think if they give or they pour into, it's going to take away. They don't have the energy. They don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the capacity. And that's just not true, because if you get your eyes off your own set of circumstances and start seeing how you can be a blessing to someone else, how you can serve someone else, how you can give into, how you can make a difference for somebody else, I promise you, it's a boomerang. It will come back to you in multiple ways that you don't even know or you don't even expect. So it is the law. It's like the law of gravity. There is seed time, harvest. What you sow, you will reap. And so this is such a great example of that. And I love this story and how you were able to get yourself out of that because of a decision. It was just a simple decision.
Uh-oh. Taylor, you're frozen for me. I don't know if you are for anybody else. I have full bars. Uh-oh. Oh, there. I think I got you.
Are you there?
There you are. Yeah.
Okay, I forgot to tell you this part, because sometimes, since all this craziness, my internet goes, it sometimes likes me, sometimes it doesn't. And I meant to say, if I go away, keep talking.
Well, it's funny. Think about this, because, I think that you guys will all relate to this, right? Like everything that we're talking about right now, all of these things from the very beginning to the very end, how's 2020 felt for you guys? Right? Like everything that could go wrong, every circumstance that could possibly be thrown at people, their health, their wealth, right? Like everything that you could possibly, we experienced in 1 year.
Sure.
And I want to ask you guys, how are you viewing 2020? How are you choosing to view 2020? Because I'll tell you, I had the most growth I've ever had this year in 2020. I've doubled my network marketing business. I've 10 times my brand, because I choose to see things in a different way than other people do. And you have the opportunity every single day to choose how you view things. How do you view what's happening in the world? How do you view what's happening in your home? How do you view these things that are coming at you that you can't control? Yes. And how are you reacting to them?
reaction. That's, and, you know, and the thing about it is that it really does come down to how are you viewing it? Because how you view it is how you're reacting.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, you know, if you think it's negative and you think it's bad, it's probably going to be negative and bad. I mean, that's really at the end of the day. So let's talk about your business. Like, okay, so you've gone through this major transition. How did you get into the network market? I mean, like, how did this transition for you to take it to this next level? I want to hear this story now.
Yeah, so it started with, you know, obviously this moment I have with my husband and deciding that I want to like live this whole full life. Well, at the time, you know, when I got out of college, of course, when I was playing volleyball, I could eat whatever I wanted, right? And then I get out, I get pregnant, and I end up over 200 pounds. And so I'm having this like epiphany, like what is full joy? What is peace in my life? Like what does a full life look like? And I realize I'm not taking very good care of myself and my health. And so I decide I'm going to go on this journey of learning how to eat right and exercise again and really filling my physical health and bettering my physical health. So I go on this journey. I learn all about health and taking care of myself. I lose 75 pounds. And so then once again, my thoughts are, you know, how can I not only have joy and peace in my own life, but how can I give that to other people? And so I become a personal trainer because now I'm wanting to take what I've learned and I want to pour it into other people's lives, right? At the basis of everything is service, by the way. If you want to be successful at anything, is how can you give to others? How can you help others? How can you be of value in people's lives, regardless of whether they're paying you for anything or not, right? Yeah. And so I go out, I become a personal trainer, realize that I don't like the hours that I have to put in order to help the amount of people that I want to help. Then also realize that I can only help so many people in person every single day. Well, how can I help more people? Boom, social media, go online. And so I was presented with a network marketing company that was in the health and wellness field, decided, hey, I think I might be able to do this. So jumped in 2014, did absolutely everything wrong. Everything you could possibly do wrong. I did wrong. My uplines had no idea what they were doing. I had no idea how to choose an upline, right? Like all of us, we have no idea what we're doing, right? And so, but because of everything that I had learned in my life up to that point, I was driven. I knew that I would constantly take action without fear because I had nothing to fear because I had my process of learning how to analyze backwards that I was doing every night anyways, right? So I was able to grow very quickly. And I became a six-figure earner within my first year, stayed there stayed with this company I was there for almost 4 years, realized that for me, integrity means everything. I didn't align with the integrity of where I was. And jumped in a little over about 2.5 years ago to a different business and was able to build to a 7-figure income there within my first 1.5 years. And so from there, took what I had learned in my network marketing career and decided that I'm not just a network marketer. Like how can I help more people have more joy and more peace in their life? How can I spread that, right? And so that my whole brand became building badasses, women who are bold, authentic, daring, accountable to their actions, smart with their choices, sexy and confident in who they are. And so I took all the things that I was learning and that I had implemented all of my analyzing backwards. And then I threw it into actually coaching other women, not just in network marketing, but how to live bigger, fuller lives. And here I am.
So powerful. Ladies, gosh, I could do I could do 4 or 5 different training classes just on breaking this up in so many different segments because, you know, ladies, like if you heard her in the beginning, she did everything wrong, right? So, okay, what if you just did everything wrong? What if you're just getting started? Maybe you've been around for 20 years. Maybe you've done it all wrong, right? This is a perfect example of how to make everything right, right? Everything that you've gone through, everything that you've experienced, there is a reason and you can use it and leverage it to your benefit if you so choose to. right? You can change where you're standing. You can change the circle that you're standing in. Comes down to desire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Willingness. I mean, teachability, self-evaluate. It really, and those things can't be taught. I can't stress that enough. It came from within, and you were equipped at an early age, it sounds like, with those things innately, right? And I think we all are to some degree with some sort of desire. So if you were sharing, like, with the ladies that are listening here, because I mean, what would you want them to know? What would be if you know, they're not in your group, maybe they're struggling today. Maybe they're like, okay, there's some confusion. Maybe they don't know which direction. What would you give them today that they could walk away with, and what would you encourage them to do?
Yeah, so basically, like I said, all success is a rhythm, right? And it's figuring out what is my rhythm. Once you do something once, and once you prove to yourself that you can do something once, you can always do it again. And so one of the things, like with this analyzing backwards, is realizing that, you know, understanding what our habits are and what we choose to do on a daily basis is really important, because if you can look back over in the times of your life where things were peaceful and joyful and exciting and you were crushing it at whatever it was you were doing. Maybe it was in sports when you were younger. Maybe it was in college and you were crushing your midterms or whatever. The different areas in your life where you were like really crushing it. I want you to make a list of what were your habits in those moments. What were the things that you were showing up and doing every single day? Because you'll find that you have a pattern. You have your own system that can be a rhythm if you stick to it, because habits at the basis of everything are what either creates success or keeps us from having it, right? I will form good habits and become their slave is what we have to do. So I started associating, you know, in the times where I was sucking at life and life just was awful and it was happening to me and it was punching me in the face and I was in a rut and I couldn't move forward. Well, what were my habits in those moments? What were my habits in the moments of my life where I was actually crushing it? And so I developed a system that works super well for me and works for my coaching clients and my team as well. So for me, I have a very specific way I align up my day. I wake up 10 minutes before I actually have to get up every morning. I do not hit the snooze button because I think the snooze button tells your brain that you are lazy. And if you tell your brain that you are lazy, you will be lazy for the rest of the day. So I don't hit the snooze button. I spend 5 minutes in gratitude and I spend 5 minutes in surrender. Gratitude for everything I have, then I surrender it all back to the Lord because I can't control any of it, right? We don't have control over anything but our own personal decisions and how we react to other people. So I have my gratitude, I have my surrender, and then I get up and this is what I teach. I read a list to myself about how amazing I am, why I'm unique, why I'm right? I highly recommend making this list. Right? I have one in my purse. I have one by my bed. I have one in my office, right? I read my list. Why? Because what's one of the biggest things that most people lack? Confidence.
Yes.
What do I need to have? Confidence. So I read my list about how amazing I am. And then I sit down and I read my list. Here comes my belief about why I chose what I choose to do every day. I love to feed into people. I love to grow people. I love to help them have joy. I love to help them have peace. I love to help them crush their business, right? Like I know exactly why I do what I do. This breeds belief. So now I have gratitude. I have surrender. I've given it back. I've got confidence. I've got belief, right? Then I turn my jam on because it's energy time. I got to get my energy high. If I ain't got no energy, I can't do what I want to do. I can't attract people to me, right? Like, so I get my jam on, I get my energy up, then I sit down and I work. I do my intentional work. And then at the end of the day, I have the last part of my system, which is analyzing backwards. What worked today? What didn't? How can I improve it? And my day looks like this every single day. And I teach this over and over and over because winning and success is just a rhythm. And when you figure out your rhythm, you can be successful at anything.
So powerful. Oh my gosh, ladies, like so powerful. I hope you're taking notes because what she's saying is it's gold. I'm just going to tell you, this is just absolute gold. because, you know, most people don't take value of their habits that they do daily, right? And they don't realize that big door, what's easy to do is easy not to do.
Yes.
So, and, you know, casualness breeds casualties.
Yep.
So, you know, if you want to move forward in your business and you're feeling stuck, you have to make a decision, and you have to walk forward and evaluate habits. Are you doing things that are growing your business or derailing your business? Growing your relationships, derailing your relationships, really? And it really all comes back to, it really does all come back to you. So tell us, as we're closing out, like, do you, I mean, as a believer, like, do you use quotes? I mean, in self-analysis, do you use quotes? Do you use scripture? Do you have like one that's your favorite? Do you have your go-tos, or do you change with your rhythm? Or would you like to share something that you use for mindset kind of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I want to go back on what you said when you're talking about these habits, and it's funny because if I was to go to each one of you and ask you, what do you think the habits that you need to have on a daily basis are in order to create success in anything, your business, your relationships, whatever it is that you're wanting to crush at life, right? Like, if I was to ask you, what do you think those habits are? I can guarantee you that almost every single person knows what they need to do. They're just not doing it. And I actually came across this quote, and I don't even know who said it, but I say it over and over and over again. Okay. Common sense isn't common practice. You may know, but you are not actually putting it into action. And the law of action, not the law of attraction, the law of action is where things actually happen, because what you do is going to create more of what you want in your life. It's the very simple habits that you do on a daily basis that either create success or don't, right? So you may know what those habits are, but if you're not actually doing them on a daily basis, right? So common sense is not common practice. You need to make your habits common practice if you actually want to get where you want to go. So this is actually my favorite quote, and my good friend Manny Watkins made this for me and had it sent to me. There you go.
Before you were born, I set you apart. Ooh, I love that.
This is my favorite. This is something that I say to myself over and over and over again, because here's what I want you guys to hear. You are very uniquely made.
Amen.
God made us all different. And he gave us all different talents and skills, and it's up to us to live those out and to go out and put those out into the world, right? He knew every hair on your head before he ever even created you. So if you can sit and think about that, and that's what I do every single day, I sit and I think about that. You know, I only have this one shot on this planet to bring as many people I can to him, to love as many people as I can, to make as much of an impact, to create a legacy after I leave this earth, right? Before you were born, he set you apart. There is something that you are supposed to do on this planet that is going to make it a better place before you leave it. And so I remind myself of that every single day. The other thing that I do, other than my gratitude, my surrender, every single morning, because that is my time where I sit there and I thank the Lord for everything that I have, and then I surrender it all back to him, because he gives and he takes away. It's all his, right? I love Jesus calling. The first thing I do when I get out of bed is I sit on the toilet, and ain't nothing get my mind in the right place before I get my Jesus calling on, and then I go and get my kid up. So that's kind of my process. But another thing that I will say, it doesn't matter where you decide to get your growth. I'm not I am a book reader. I read fiction. I love fiction. It's my exit from life. It's my rest. So I'm not a book reader when it comes to personal development. It doesn't matter where you get your personal development, whether you are listening to a podcast or you're on YouTube or you're watching a live video or you're a reader. It doesn't matter. But you should dedicate every single day to have 30 minutes of growth. At least 30 minutes of growth. I don't care if you're in your car, if it's on your walk, but every single day, because the last thing I want to leave you guys with, and I want you guys to understand this, and I want you to take it, like really, really take this in, is your whole entire life can fall apart. Your family can leave you. Your job can be taken away from you. Everything can be taken away from you. But you know what can never be taken away from you? Your own knowledge and your own skill. Okay. So every single day, if you are learning and you are growing and you are creating more knowledge and you are honing the skills and the talents that God gave you, nobody can ever take that away from you. You could lose your job tomorrow and you could go out and you can create something the next day. You can go and get another job the next day. Your family could leave you and you could go out there and you could be okay because you know that you have learned what you need to do in order to create whatever it is that you want to create in life. So never stop learning and never stop growing.
Love that. So it's so good. It's so true. And here, because I always said, you know, it's a briefcase of skills. You know, whenever you develop a briefcase of skills, it doesn't matter whether you do a business or not. It's skills. They will always go with you wherever you are, right? And if you're working on your skills, then you will grow and develop, and those will be with you lifelong, right? But you've got to, what's easy to do is easy not to do, right? Right. So, and I love this too, is that you are here for a purpose. That's why I created this group, sharing her excellence, because we all have an excellence inside of us that's waiting to come out. You are here for a purpose, for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And you are the answer to someone else's problem, but you've got to decide that you are good enough and that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have to decide that. So ladies, thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys got amazing value. I know I did. This is such an amazing interview. Thank you so much. I'm going to say bye to you privately, Brynn. But ladies, give her some hearts and loves. Share this out. Tag somebody that's in the group. Add somebody to this group. Tag them to this message that needs to hear this, that desperately needs to hear this message today. So we love you, each and every one of you. Hope you have a blessed, amazing day. This is Taylor Thompson and Brynn Lang signing off.
Thanks.
Bye.